Hello there and welcome to my channel. My name is Jimmy Wikman and I'm an Atlassian expert that have been working with Atlassian products since around 2012. And in today's video we're going to jump into Jira Service Management. I'm going to take a look at request type, one of the most useful items that you can actually configure in your Jira Service Management project, but one that a lot of people are confused about. So before we jump into Jira Service Management and actually show you what a request type is and how we configure it, let's first talk a little bit about what is a request type and what is the difference between a request type and an issue type, because a lot of people confuse those two. So let's talk first about issue type. So what is an issue type? Well, shortly you can say that that is a data object where we actually put in information about a task that needs to be carried out. So in short, it is a work task, and maybe that will actually be the name in the future. But an issue type will contain the information about what needs to be carried out, and that one is attached then to different configurations. Most notably perhaps is the workflow. So you connect a workflow to a specific issue type. So that way you will build the configuration for how to work with that work item using that setup. And a request type is nothing more than actually an extension of the form that people use to fill out the information of what needs to be done. So if you have worked in Jira before, in Jira Service Management, you probably know that you will have, every time you want to create a ticket or you want to create an issue, you will actually have a form for it. And that form will have different fields. And when you're dealing with Jira Service Management, you probably have, like, if we take an example, I'm the platform owner, for example. I own all Atlassian products. So if someone submits an incident to me, they can be different types. So I can have an incident for Jira, for example. I can have one for Confluence, I can have one for emails, or I can have one for any of the plugins that I have. And I can even have an incident related to one of the many integrations that I have. Now I want different information depending on what type of incident people are reporting. And that's where request types comes in, because by allowing me to create different forms for different scenarios and also having all of that tied to one single issue type, I can now have a very standardized process, but I can still get different information depending on what kind of ticket I'm working with. I hope that made sense. Otherwise, I will show you a little bit in the tool, and hopefully that will make things a little bit more clear. So let's jump into Jira Service Management and start configuring a request type. So here we are now in Jira Service Management, and we have a fresh demo project. I just added a few issue types to it, just so we have something to work with. And as you can see, we have configured, so we have the different features here for the different types. So remember, Jira Service Management is an ITSM tool, which means that these 4 types of issue types will be the standard one, or should be the standard one for most projects. So the first thing that we need to do then is to make sure that we have admin access, so we can actually access the project settings. That is mandatory for you to be able to configure your request types, and later on also the forms and everything else that you need related to the forms that you will present on the portal. So we click on project settings and we go down to request types. But before we do that, I just want to show you the issue types that we have added to this project here, so you can see what they actually look like. So you can see we have service request change, we have incident, and we have problems. These are the 4 standard ones that we have in ITSM. And we also have the post-incident review, which is also part of the ITSM standard that we are using for follow-up when we have major incidents. And for this one, I have also added a little different icon than for email request. And that is so people can email into your project and it will create tickets from that. So these are nothing strange. You can see which workflows we have connected to each. And now what we want to do is we want to focus on incident for this video here. So I want to create different forms for different incidents. And the way we do that then is that we go to request types. And by default, and it's a little bit slow loading here today, by default you will see that it will start in service requests. So first check at the top here what work category you're actually in. So we'll actually show you the ones that you have available in your project. So if we want to work with incident and create new incidents, we can go here. And I will show you that this one does not really matter. It's just when you actually create the request type, because you can actually select which one you want based on the issue type anyway. But it's just so you can see that you don't do it twice, so you don't add the same request type twice. So we don't have any incidents here. So what we want to do is we want to create a request type for it. So we have the big blue button here, and then we want to either create it from scratch, which is what we're going to do today, or we can create one from template. And Atlassian have, at the moment, they have 74 templates here. So you can pick any one. So if you want to have report a bug, for example, they have predefined the fields. So you can basically select this one and use that as a starting template if you are unsure what kind of fields you need. For us, however, we want to create this one from scratch. So I'll create a blank one, and this is the create view screen that you will have when you create new request types. So the first thing you will do is create a name, and my suggestion here is that unlike everything else that you configure in Jira, where you want it to be as generic as possible because you want it to be used by as many as you can, here I suggest that you make very specific names for it. Because when you build a portal later on, if you have an add-on that is called refined, for example, then you can build it so you can actually mix and match a request type from many different projects in one view. And if they are called incident, then it's going to be very difficult to know what am I actually submitting here. And also when you have it specified, then it's easier for the people that will submit a ticket to understand exactly what am I submitting here. So for this one, we're going to start with having a Jira incident. So we will have Jira incident. And we will describe it. So we will add and this one is something that you should test and work with continuously when you have a support project to make sure that the description is as descriptive as possible. So I'm not going to put any effort in this one. So I'm just going to have a very generic one. So don't do this, do it right. I just do this for demonstration purposes. When you actually work with this one, you should make sure that the description is very crisp and very easy to understand. So now we have a name for the form that we want people to actually submit. We have a description that will be shown in the portal. And now we want to add a little bit of an icon here. So right now we have a plus icon, which may not be the best one for an incident. So you can click on the change icon, and then you all have the option to upload something, or you can select one of the existing ones, and you can even click on the three dots there and you can select another one. So you can have this one, for example, or you can have the lined version down here. So if I take that one, now you see we have changed the icon. You can also upload an image, so you can actually click on upload, or you can drag one, and I will just drag one I have from the side here so you don't have to see my messy setup. So I can just drag one icon up here, and then I can save this one, and now you will see that I have this little icon here instead. Now portal group is a little bit tricky because for some reason they have selected or opted to actually put them into a completely different area of Jira Service Management. So by default, when you create a new project, you will have one called General, and you will have one called Hidden from Portal. So when you create a new request type, I always recommend that you put it in Hidden from Portal. That way you can work with setting up all the questions and all the forms before you actually publish it. So what we will do then is we will select this one, hide from portal. If you want, you can select from multiple ones. So in this case, I can put it into incident or change request or anyone else that I want. But just for the purpose of showing you how this one works, I will just select hide from portal so you can see that it actually does not show up. And the last part here is what I meant when I said that it doesn't really matter which category you actually choose before you come to this one, because you can select any issue type that you want here. So you can actually make this a service request instead, and then it will show up on the service request section there. But for us, we want this to be an incident. And the benefit of you selecting one of those groups is that when you click on create blank, it will actually automatically fetch it from the group where you were at. So on the side here, you will see that this is not updating as we are changing this one. This is just giving you a preview of what you have basically at the moment. So now that we've filled this one in, we can add it. And now under incidents, you will soon see that we will come then to the request form, and we will have the issue view and the workflow statuses. So this is where we can configure the form. So what we have here then is, this is the description that we filled in before. And here we will have different fields. And there are two ways you can deal with request types. So one is that you can use it kind of like you do when you do an issue type. So you can have form fields that come from within Jira. So these are the ones that you will see here on the side. So all of these are available to this project. So you can basically just drag and drop them wherever you want them here. I recommend not doing that because what this one will lead to is that you will start building up a massive amount of custom fields. So for the most information that you want to fetch, that is just information. It is actually not something that you need to track. It's not something that you want to build reports on and things like that. So this is where this last part here, forms, come in. So forms is kind of like a Confluence page that you can build up with different questions and different form elements, and you can have them conditionally showing depending on previous selections. I'm going to have a separate video for that one, teach you how to do that. But this one is much more useful because none of the questions that you have in that form will actually tax your index. It will not cause any performance issues in that way. It will not continuously increase the number of custom fields that you have. And that means that Jira will feel a lot better, and it will be easier for everyone to work in. And most importantly, you in the project that owns this project will have 100% control of all the information that you ask for your customers. Because if you don't use forms and you decide instead of using the form fields, then what happens is anytime you want to change anything here, let's say you have a drop list with values of something, then every time you want to add or remove something from that, you have to ask an admin to actually do that. And that's going to be, that takes a while, and it's annoying, and you want to be able to work quickly and freely. So I always recommend to use forms, but you decide on your own. I always recommend to have the summary here though. And the reason for that one is we have the functionality in the portal to show Confluence content. So for example, if someone search for, Slack, then you can have articles related to Slack in Confluence, and you can present solutions for different things in the portal as people are writing, and that is based on what you put into the summary here. So it could be good to keep this one and then have the rest as forms. Just remember that if you are sharing just the form, then this part will not be there. So you might want to have a little bit of a thought process there to see if I share only the form or if I embed it in Confluence, for example, then this one won't be there. Will I lose some information? So this one you can modify as you see fit. You can also drag and drop them where you want them if you want to change their order. So if we bring in assignee, for example, I can just do that, and I can drag it up if I want. And then I can basically build up my form if I want to use the form field. I'm not going to do that because I want to use instead the correct way that I feel that you should do it, and that is using forms instead. So You can update the description, you can fill out the form, or you can attach an existing form that you have created and that I will show you in another video. And that one will be the form that we will actually display in the portal. And then you have the issue view, and this is kind of what you can do also when you are working inside of your service management later, when you go to the configure functionality at the issue. So this one can actually allow you to do the same thing. So here you can actually change the values that will show in the ticket itself once it has been created. So here you can drag and drop things, and you can again bring things in and bring things out. So for example, if you don't want to have linked alerts, you can just move that out of the way, just drag it over here, and then they will be gone. And if you want to, for example, stakeholders, you don't need those unless someone has filled it out, then just move it down to hidden when empty fields. Maybe you want time tracking to always show, then move it up, and so on. And what happens when you are done here is that this is the way the the ticket will actually show up once you work with it. And you can change this afterwards if you want to. And the last thing that you can do is you can change, and I will not save this one. So even though you have a workflow with statuses, you can actually change the actual wording of these that is shown to the customer, not inside. So if you have a different status name written here, then it will not change for you, but it will change for the customer. So let's say, for example, you want to have this one, waiting for customer. This is the status that is when a customer have responded to our ticket and it's waiting for us. But maybe we don't want it to look like that to them. So maybe we change this one. It says, waiting for your input, for example. Then this is what will show in the portal. So that's what kind of changes that you can do once you have created a request type. And you will also see that we can manage restrictions here. So if you have, this is fairly new, so that's why I didn't show you that one right away. What you can do is you can actually say that this one can only be used by certain groups or by certain individuals. So you can actually search for a name or a group here, and that means that when they go to the portal, then if they don't belong to this group, it will be the same as if it was hidden. So it will not show up for them. So this can be good if you are working, for example, in IT support and you have certain request type that you want to have only, let's say, security or infra want to submit tickets to, but only them, no one else should be able to see it. Then you can use this one. And you can also quickly go to the workflow itself and start working with that one if you see that we need to have different things here. So that's how you create now a request type. So this is what it looks like when you have created it. And you can see it says hidden from portal here. So let's go back and verify that. Oh, sorry, one more. So if we go to channels here and we go to the portal, and you can see then incident is not here. So we can't actually see it. But if I now then change this one, so if I go back to request types, and I go to incident, and I go to actions here, so this is where you can make different changes after you've created it. So you can change the work category, which is basically moving them between these. So if I do that, then it will actually tell me which one of these work categories do I want to place them in. And I can also duplicate it. I can make a duplicate of it. So for example, if you have two issues or two incidents that are fairly similar. So for example, I could duplicate this one and create one for Confluence. And the only thing that would probably change is slightly in the description, and I would create a new form for it. And you can also delete it. Sometimes when you create something and you accidentally put this one in the wrong issue type, then you might want to delete it. You can also check the workflows. It's the same thing that you had on the request type when we actually created it. So you can do the same, replace, you can view and edit. And then you have the portal group at the end here. So if I click on this one, and now I can move it. So you see we do not see hidden from portal here because this one is already selected. So if I put this one as incident here, now you will see it is connected to the portal group incident. And if I go to the portal now and refresh this one, now you will see that we have a new one. Now we have two. And if I click on the incident, you will see we have the Jira incident, and we will have the fields that we have defined for that one. Now, what if you want to create more portal groups? How do you do that? Well, it's actually a little bit confusing, but at the same time it makes sense. So what you need to do is go back to project settings, and you have the request types here. So you need to scroll down a little bit longer to portal settings. And then you have your portal configuration here. So this is where you would define how your portal should look. And here you have a second tab called portal groups. So here now I can create new groups, and I can also change. So I can take, for example, the incident, and I can bring it down to change request if I want. No, I cannot. I have to reassign it first. But you can rearrange them. So if I want to, I can add change request to this one, and then I can rearrange in which order they are actually showing up in. And I can also remove them, of course. So I just click on create group, and I add a new name. Any name, and nothing will really happen, because if you don't assign a request form to this one, it will actually not be saved. So you can see I cannot actually save it, so you need to have a request form connected to it. So I can pick anyone, and now I can actually save it. Now this one will actually be available for me, and so I can actually select this one when I want to reassign something. So if I go back to request types now, and I go to incident, and then I go to edit portal group, then any name will be available here. And you can, as you can see here, you can put it into multiple areas. So this is also useful if you want to have multiple groups on your portal to show that. So that was it. That is how you create a request type. And we can, just for the sake of showing how this one works, we can duplicate this one, and we call this one conference. And we put that also in the incident, and now we have one with another icon. So if I go to the portal here now and I refresh this, you'll see now that there are two names here, and I now will have two different. And if I want to change the order of them, I will then go to the portal settings, and I'll go to portal groups, and I will go to incident, and I will open this one. And I will drag the Jira incident at top. And if I go back here now then and reload, then Jira will be at the top. So that's how you work with request types, and that is what request types are. So anything that you put in here will just be the form, and the form itself is connected to a workflow through the issue type, which is a different object. So I hope this one was helpful for you, and that you now feel that you can work with request types, and you understand what they are and how to use them and how to configure them. So with that, I just think that the only thing remains for me to say today is that I hope that you will have a great day and an awesome week.